Hi, I'm Eric Schulhoff.
And I'm Troy Roberts, and we're the wireless sales specialists here at Fortinet. We're going to show you how simple it is to configure a wireless access point in 4 quick steps.
For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to be using a FortiGate 60D PoE running FortiOS 5.2 as our firewall and wireless controller. The main menus we're going to use for the configuration is the System tab, the Policy and Objects tab to enable a policy to allow our traffic flow, and primarily the Wi-Fi and Switch Controller tab. Our first step in configuring the wireless network is to create an SSID. Note that that flow matches the flow in the Wi-Fi and Switch Controller tab. We click on Create New to create our SSID. The first step is to allow an interface name for the new interface that we're creating. I'm going to call it WLAN 1. The traffic mode is tunneled to wireless controller, which is going to put all the wireless traffic in a tunnel between my access point and my FortiGate controller. I need to assign an IP interface to this interface that I'm creating and a net mask. I can choose to allow or deny administrative access on this interface, which I'm going to deny, and I'm going to allow ping so that devices can ping this interface as a troubleshooting step. My DHCP server has automatically been enabled for this interface to create a pool for the wireless devices that connect to the SSID. Here under Wi-Fi settings, I create the actual SSID name that I want to see broadcasted in the air. I'm going to call that Wi-Fi access. It's going to be secured with WPA2 personal, and I'm going to input a pre-shared key. I'm going to select the defaults to broadcast my SSID and detect and identify devices under device management. Next step is to click OK to save. As we continue the workflow under the Wi-Fi and Switch Controller tab, the next configuration item is to configure the FortiAP profile for the Forti access point that we're going to use. I'm using a FortiAP 320C, so I'm going to edit the FAP 320C default profile. The FortiAP profile allows us to configure exactly how we want the radios in the FortiAP 320C to behave. You'll see that the profile is broken down for both Radio 1 and Radio 2 for our 2 radio access points. I'm going to have Radio 1 operate as an access point. I'm going to choose the default wireless intrusion detection profile. I'm going to turn on radio resource provisioning. That's going to allow Radio 1 to do automatic channel selection. And I'm going to enable client load balancing, both for frequency handoff and AP handoff. Under SSID, I'm going to click and add the Wi-Fi access SSID that we created in our first step. I'm going to configure much the same for Radio 2. Access point, radio resource provisioning enabled, frequency handoff, AP handoff. Since this is an 802.11 AC radio, I'm going to select the 80 megahertz channel width to give myself the best performance possible for 802.11 AC. Again, I'm going to select my Wi-Fi access SSID and click on OK to save my changes. The next step after configuring our SSID and our FortiAP profile is to join our FAP 320C into the network and authorize it and assign that profile to our access point. That's done under Managed Devices. We plugged our FortiAP 320C into one of the PoE ports on our FortiGate 60D. The access point uses a multicast and broadcast discovery algorithm to discover the FortiGate. Once it discovers the FortiGate, it will show up in this state, awaiting authorization into the network. I can authorize it by right-clicking and clicking on Authorize. Once it's authorized, we can then assign the FortiAP profile that we previously configured to this access point. Once the FortiAP has been authorized and downloaded its configuration from the FortiGate, it'll start operating and it'll show up in the green online state here under Managed FortiAPs. In addition, it'll show you the SSIDs that it's broadcasting on each radio, the channels that were automatically selected, the number of clients associated to each radio, the firmware version currently running on the AP, and more. Next, I need to create a policy to allow the traffic to flow from my Wi-Fi access wireless interface out to the WAN 1 port on my FortiGate and allow my traffic out to the internet. Back under System, Network and Interfaces, you'll see that the SSID we created, Wi-Fi access, shows up as an interface on the firewall, just like a physical interface, just like a LAN port. To create my policy, I go under Policy, IPv4, and create a new policy. We're going to create a very generic open policy just to allow all the traffic to flow from the SSID out the WAN port. My incoming interface is WLAN1 SSID Wi-Fi access. The destination address is all. The outgoing interface, WAN 1. And service is going to be open to all. I'm going to do NAT on that interface, log allowed traffic, and click OK to save my policy. Our wireless network has now been fully configured and a policy created to allow traffic flow from the wireless interface out to the WAN 1 interface. Under the Wi-Fi and Switch Controller tab, we have several screens that can be used to manage and monitor the network. The main screen is the Wireless Health Monitor. This shows you your current AP status. It shows us our one access point that is currently active and has been rebooted within the last 24 hours. I can drill into this for additional information about the access point. We also have client count over time, which will show me a 1 hour, 1 day, or 30-day view of client connectivity. We have top wireless interference that'll show me interfering access points on both the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands, and associated devices broken down by each radio type, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Again, I can drill in to these screens for additional information about the client count. A more detailed view of devices associated to the wireless network is available in the client monitor. The client monitor will show you the SSID the device is associated to, the access point and radio, provide IP and MAC address information for the wireless device, as well as the channel it's on, signal strength information, and a snapshot of the current bandwidth consumption per device. The final monitor available is the Rogue AP monitor. The Rogue AP monitor will show you all the Rogue access points seen by the radios in your Fortinet access points, along with their SSID, signal strength, and other information.
Hopefully you found this video segment interesting and resourceful as you set up your Fortinet access points.
For more information on this subject or any other, please feel free to visit docs.fortinet.com.
Look for more videos from the wireless department here at Fortinet in the future.